Anarchy, a state of society without government or law. Typical during periods like the early Russian Revolution. It's marked by extreme self reliance in the absence of overarching rules. Anarchy often leads to a power vacuum, leading to unpredictable social dynamics. Aristocracy, governance by a selected few, often based on heritage or wealth. This class holds sway due to historical privileges and advantages. Aristocracy often leads to a society where social mobility is limited and power is inherited rather than earned. Authoritarianism, a system where power is centralized in the hands of a few, severely limiting personal freedoms. Seen in regimes like North Korea, it's characterized by media control and political repression. Authoritarian governments often justify their control through appeals to tradition, nationalism, or the need for stability. Bureaucracy, a layered management structure often found in governments like the US. Known for its complex and procedural nature, it's typically associated with inefficiency and rigidity. However, bureaucracy also brings a certain level of standardization and accountability to large organizations. Capitalism, a free market economy where private entities own and operate for profit. The US exemplifies the system where supply and demand drive innovation and consumer choice. While capitalism fosters economic growth, it can also lead to income inequality and market fluctuations. Confederation, an alliance where member states or groups retain sovereignty. The European Union is a prime example, collaborating on shared goals while maintaining independent authority. Colonialism, a practice where a powerful nation dominates a weaker region, as seen by the European control over many states in Africa, Asia, and South America. This often leads to economic exploitation and cultural imposition. Colonialism has long term impacts on the colonized societies, reshaping the cultural and political landscapes. Communism, a movement striving for classless society with communal property ownership. The Soviet Union's attempt at this ideal often fell short of its theoretical goals. Corporatocracy, a system where corporate interests significantly influence government policies. Corporatocracy can lead to policies that favor the wealthy and powerful, diminishing democratic accountability for these organizations and individuals. Democracy, a form of government where citizens hold power, typically through voting. India, the world's largest democracy, showcases the system's diversity from direct to representative forms. Democracies thrive on citizen participation but can be challenged by polarization and misinformation. Illiteracy, a government that emphasizes the election process over true democratic values and principles. Russia under Putin is often cited as an example where the electoral practices overshadow political freedoms. In electrocracies, the legitimacy of the election is often questioned due to the lack of fairness and transparency. Ergotocracy, governance by the working class, valuing labor rights and empowerment. The early Soviet Union aimed for this, focusing on the proletariat's role in society. Ergotocracy seek to prioritize the interests of workers, but balancing these with the broader economic needs can be challenging. Fascism, an authoritarian regime emphasizing nationalism and often militarism, as epitomized by Nazi Germany under Hitler. It's characterized by centralized power and suppression of opposition. Fascism often involves a strong emphasis on racial or cultural purity and is marked by aggressive foreign policies. Federalism, a system blending a central authority with regional entities suitable for diverse nations like the USA. It allows for a balance of power and responsibilities. Federalism facilitates local governance while maintaining national unity, but it can lead to conflict between different levels of government. Feudalism, a medieval structure where peasants worked on the lord's land in exchange for protection, creating a strict hierarchy. This was commonplace across medieval Europe. Feudalism established a rigid social order based on land ownership, which often hindered economic and social progress. Geniocracy, a theoretical system led by the highly intelligent or qualified, focusing on merit based leadership. While intriguing, it remains unimplemented in the real world. Geniocracy advocates argue that it could lead to a more rational and effective decision making process within government. Imperialism, the extension of a nation's power through colonization or force, driven by desires for economic or strategic gains, as seen by the British Empire's historical expansion. Imperialism often leads to significant cultural and political changes in the affected regions. Kleptocracy, a corrupt form of government where leaders exploit their roles for personal gain, leading to economic disparities. In a kleptocracy, the nation's wealth is often siphoned off at the expense of the broader population. Logocracy, a theoretical system where intellectuals govern through the power of words and debates. While it remains largely conceptual, it emphasizes the role of rhetoric in governance. A logocracy would prioritize intellectual discourse and policy making based on rational debate. Meritocracy, advancement based on ability and achievement, aiming for society where merit dictates success. Meritocracies often aim to foster fairness and efficiency, but it can also overlook social inequalities. Military dictatorship, control rests with the military, often prioritizing military objectives over civilian needs. Military dictatorships are characterized by authoritarianism and limited political freedoms. Monarchy, a government headed by a monarch, ranging from ceremonial to absolute authority. The UK's constitutional monarch is a prime example of a modern ceremonial role. Monarchies can provide continuity and national identity, but they can often face challenges in the modern democratic societies. Oligarchy, power concentrated in the hands of a few, distinguished by wealth or power. Modern Russia is frequently cited as an example, with oligarchs wielding significant influence. Oligarchs can lead to concentrated economic power and diminishing democratic processes. Plutocracy, a society or government dominated by the wealthy, where financial power translates into political influence. Plutocracies can exacerbate income inequality and undermine equitable governments. Republicanism, an ideology favoring a republic over a monarchy, emphasizing elected officials and public participation. Republicanism focuses on the sovereignty of the people and the rule of law. Socialism advocates for the communal or state ownership of the production means, aiming for equal resource distribution. Cuba's state control over industries reflects this philosophy. Socialism seeks to reduce economic disparities but can struggle with inefficiency and innovation. Statism involves strong government control over social and economic affairs. China, with its extensive state involvement in various sectors, is a notable example. Statism aims for centralized planning and control, but it can limit personal freedoms and market dynamics. Technocracy, leadership by experts in specific fields, particularly in science or technology. Decisions are based on expertise rather than political agendas. Technocracies value knowledge and efficiency but may overlook democratic participation and social concerns. Theocracy, a system where religious leaders rule in the name of a deity with the laws grounded in religious principles and doctrines. Iran demonstrates this integration of religion with political authority. Theocracies often face challenges in balancing religious doctrines with diverse societal needs and human rights. Totalitarianism, an all-encompassing political regime seeking control over all aspects of life, characterized by a single-party rule and a strong leader. Nazi Germany exemplifies this through its pervasive control mechanisms. Totalitarian states often use propaganda and surveillance to maintain power and suppress dissent. Tribalism, social organizations based on tribes or clans, prioritizing kinship and tradition. Tribalism fosters strong community bonds, but it can lead to conflicts and challenges in forming broader national identities.